Okay, over to you, Duane.
Thank you, BL. I wanted to give my appreciation to the Moya School in Tulia for the opportunity to do these monthly Zoom meetings, with special appreciation also for our techie support with Michael, BL, Rose, and others. And also my appreciation for all of you taking time from your busy schedule to be a part of these group meetings. Okay, I'm going to try to seamlessly, which is a very optimistic thought, to take the first presentation we did at our last meeting on the Atlas asteroid that's come into our system, and then sort of reach out and bridge a lot of different sub areas that relate to that.
Duane,
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you've got a hand up.
Okay. Yes.
Flavia,
You have
Flavia,
a question,
Flavia,
Flavio?
go ahead. Flavio,
Okay. I think what we'll do, BL, is wait till we get somewhat into the presentation before we
okay.
take questions. I want to sort of set the stage here of what we're trying to accomplish. And as all of you who attended our last presentation, we went into some depth about what Blavatsky, Dualcool, Rosicrucians, Rudolf Steiner, and others actually have stated about meteorites and asteroids coming into our system. And I think it's fair to say that they were all in agreement that they're not just chunks of rock and ice and different gases, that they often contain a subjective counterpart that allows certain influences to cycle into our solar system, into our planetary systems, and either extract or contribute something of value. Now, we know historically that these can also be omens of bad tidings, but in my opinion, what people interpret as bad is very often the misidentification with the deeper energy that's there, and it impacts the lower vehicles. So there's a lot of fear as opposed to hope and optimism and direct alignment with that energy that's coming through or into our solar system. Okay, so we also reviewed at our last meeting these different forms of divine intervention, cataclysms, divine embodiments, of which there are many types, the evocation of slumbering entities, and the emergence of inspired leadership. This is important, and I'm going to read the latter part of this because it relates to opportunity. And we, as an integrating group, and you with all of your group contacts and different service activities, this quote is absolutely so important, particularly since we have, after the turn of the century, these new and more potent energies pouring in, as well as the 2025 conclave with Shambhala. there still remains one mode of intervention which is still more mysterious, illimitably more powerful, and definitely more difficult both to evoke and subsequently to contact. This is the emergence, response, or pairing of great sons of God who dwell in sources far removed from our planetary life altogether. This involves the appearance of lives of such stupendous and divine expression and potency that only the massed spiritual purpose of vast numbers of men and women can be potent enough and far reaching enough to pierce beyond the veil which protects the earth to those far distant realms where they have their natural and everlasting abode. They cannot be reached by prayer or even by well formulated desire, the expression of the wish life of the masses. They lie utterly beyond the realm of feeling as humanity understands it, and dwell ever in that high place which can only be reached by intentionally directed, selfless thought. Are there enough people in the world today whose focused and illuminated thought can be organized and directed towards these lives in such a manner that they can be attracted and led to respond to human need for deliverance? Such is the problem. Is it possible, but not perhaps probable? The problem of a blended demand from the spiritual hierarchy and from humanity simultaneously expressed will have to be met. And this is by no means easy of accomplishment. This is the question. If this can be done, the evil past and the glorious future may perhaps be brought into contact in the unhappy present. An event take place which will produce stupendous changes. Now, we're dealing with a lot of unknowns here, but from our teachings and studies, we know that the reappearance of Christ is in its first stages. The externalization of the hierarchy is in its early stages. We have the avatar of synthesis, and as is alluded here, not only to those extra cosmic entities, but additional ones of which we may know very little. And that's what we're going to explore today in a little more detail. Okay, and then I would like somebody to volunteer to read this additional quote that we used at our last presentation, because it is so important to interface what the masters say about asteroids and astrologically all these different factors. Would somebody like to read that?
I'll read it.
Thank you.
Michael, I see your hand is up. We'll ask you for the next time, okay? Thanks. We are not alone. In my last instruction, I made the statement that meditation was the major creative agent in the universe. There are other universes that are ahead of us in development, and in them, the emphasis may not be upon creation by the use of mental energies. Others may not be so advanced, and in them, mental energy may be in the process of unfolding or expressing itself in the evolutionary sense. There are also universes and solar systems where the quality and the condition of the manifesting universe, solar system, or planet are unknown to us. It must be borne in mind that though in all manifestations the three aspects, purpose or will, attraction, magnetic love or plan, and appearance as manifestation of both of these are necessarily present. The manifesting entity, responsible for these expressions of divinity may work through and occultly declare conditions and qualities of which we have no experience or knowledge. We may possess utterly no idea in the highest flights of our abstract thinking, and this includes the most advanced thinkers upon our planet, of the nature of the impulses and concepts which animate certain universal creators. This was from Ponder on This, but the original source was Dinah 2, page 208 and 9.
Excellent. Thank you, BL. One of the key quotes that really qualifies all this interest in UFOs. We, as a group, primarily approach these extraterrestrial and cosmic beings, if we may call them that, through subjective meditation and alignment and visualization. However, one of the key thoughts here is that the more advanced of these civilizations or energies out there that DK is talking about, they're not mental energies. Well, if they're not mental energies, what are they? Well, we know the next stage of evolutionary development for humanity is the mind in its fullness. But we have to remember that the lower mind is just preparatory to the abstract mind. And when you get to the abstract mind, you have the privilege, you have won the right to move into the intuition. And the intuition, it relates directly to an opening of the heart. So with this atlas coming into our system, there's a lot of fear, especially in the government, like, whoa, what is this? It has all kinds of aspects and attributes we don't understand, and it's exhibiting powers that we don't understand. Okay, it's a threat. And that's one of the things I've realized about the government. And this is not true in all cases, but in many cases, when the government or the military is presented with something it can't control or it can't understand, it will not share any research, hardly at all, on that. Now, whether they feel they're vulnerable, whether they're coming from a place of fear, I don't know. But my basic position is that if some craft were to come from outer space and come into our solar system and be there, it would seem only logical, not just intuitive, but logical, that they must be far more advanced than we are. And I don't see a civilization advancing mentally purely, because as DK just outlined here, there's three qualities: will, love, and intelligence. So I have no fear. And when anything comes into our system, even if it disrupts it, it to me, more than likely is going to be a benevolent, positive form of energy of life, even if we don't understand it. Remember, as we get into reviewing a little bit on Atlas, bringing us up to date, that science, basic NASA scientists have said that this object, they have followed its trajectory as far back as they can, which is actually quite a long ways. They're saying it's at least millions of years old and possibly billions. So imagine, even if it were a rock and just dust and ice, what mysteries might be revealed by something that's gone millions of years through different systems. Because on a level of energy. Anytime a material object passes in the field of another material object, they have some etheric, astral, mental, causal counterpart. So this is really a fascinating study that we have taken up. Okay, one of the greatest events in history of science. We reviewed this, so I'm just going to skip it, and we're going to go right in to an update on the asteroid atlas. And then we're going to open it up and have some questions or sharing. Okay. Okay, somehow we've bypassed a video that is supposed to click automatically, but it's not, so I just regress
The
here.
Atlas was getting way brighter, way bluer as it got close to the sun. Well, now there is a new report from NASA that shows that 3I Atlas might be picking up a little speed in, quote, non-gravitational acceleration.
It's November 4th. If this object keeps accelerating beyond the influence of gravity, then what is it? Let's go back a few months ago. On July 1st, 2025, the Atlas Survey Telescope in Rio Hurtado, Chile, detected something that defied expectations. An object the size of Manhattan, moving at speeds and on a trajectory that made one thing immediately clear. It couldn't have originated from our solar system. This wasn't one of ours. This was a visitor from interstellar space. They named it 3I Atlas, the I standing for interstellar, marking it as only the third confirmed object from beyond our solar system ever discovered. After Oumuamua in 2017 and Borisov in 2019, we had a third chance to study material formed around an alien star. After weeks of disappearing behind the sun at its closest approach, it has now re-emerged, and it's doing something that violates fundamental physics. It's glowing blue, not reflecting blue light from the sun. That would be normal. It's emitting blue light from within, as if powered by an internal source hotter than the sun's 5,800 Kelvin photosphere. At its distance of 1.4 astronomical units from the sun, solar radiation can only heat a passive object to about 290 Kelvin, roughly 20 times colder than the sun's surface. Basic thermodynamics. Cold surfaces emit red wavelengths, hot surfaces emit blue wavelengths. Yet this object, which should be freezing and glowing red like every other comet, is glowing blue as if an engine runs inside it. Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb has now classified this as the 11th impossible property stacked onto an object that already defies statistical analysis. When you calculate the combined probability of all these anomalies occurring together in a single object by pure chance, you get 1 chance in 10 quadrillion. That's worse than winning 15 consecutive lottery jackpots. But this isn't speculation anymore. We now have 3 mathematical tests that will deliver final answers within the next 50 days. Either we see a 5 billion ton gas cloud that physics demands must be present, gravitational lensing measurements that match natural comet predictions, and Europa Clipper analysis showing normal composition, or all 3 tests fail simultaneously and the natural explanation collapses. Meanwhile, NASA has activated planetary defense protocols, not routine monitoring, but active defense systems designed for existential threats, while simultaneously refusing to release high-resolution images they captured over a month ago. And the object's trajectory, altered by its mysterious acceleration, is now heading directly toward Jupiter with an expected arrival in March 2026. The scale we're dealing with. 3 Atlas has a nucleus estimated between 3.5 to 6 kilometers across, roughly the size of Manhattan Island. It weighs at least 33 billion tons, making it somewhere between 1,000 and 1 million times more massive than Oumuamua or Borisov, the only other 2 interstellar visitors we've confirmed. This isn't a small asteroid fragment. It's a massive piece of another star, system carrying physical matter and chemistry formed in an alien stellar environment. December 19th marks its closest approach to Earth at 1.8 astronomical units, approximately 167 million miles. Safe distance, no threat of collision. But here's the critical detail most coverage misses. The non-gravitational acceleration it's exhibiting is changing its trajectory, not toward Earth, but toward Jupiter, where current projections show arrival in March 2026. When Avi Loeb was directly asked about implications if this object is artificial rather than natural, his response wasn't cautious scientific hedging. His exact words: dire implications for Earth. Not concerning, not noteworthy, dire. The acceleration evidence. October 29th at perihelion 210 million kilometers from Sun. NASA's Jet Propulsion. Laboratory reported 3 Atlas is 4 arcseconds off predicted position. That's 80,000 kilometers deviation in 1 month. The acceleration, 0.02 millimeters per square second. 2 components acting simultaneously. Something is pushing it in 2 directions at once. Natural explanation, outgassing. Ice vaporizes near Sun, shoots out like rocket engine. Normal for comets. Problem, the amount needed. Loeb's calculation using momentum conservation, 33 billion tons mass, plus this acceleration equals object, must lose minimum 1/6 its mass. That's 5.12 billion tons of gas in 30 days. 5 billion tons creates a massive bright cloud, impossible to miss. Amateur telescopes would see it. Hubble and Webb will observe November, January, December 19th, critical date. If cloud is there, natural explanation validated. If not, acceleration came from technology. The 11 impossible anomalies. 1. Ecliptic alignment 0.2%. Arrived within 5 degrees of our solar. System's flat planetary plane. Random interstellar objects approach from any angle, above, below, sideways. Threading this needle, 0.2% probability. 2. Anti-tail is less than 1%. Keck Observatory confirmed August material jet aimed toward Sun. Every comet in history does opposite. Solar radiation pressure blows tails away from stars, never toward them 3. Mass velocity paradox, low single digits. Million times heavier than Oumuamua, 1,000 times heavier than Borisov, yet faster than both. Heavy objects ejected from star systems move slower. 3. Atlas violates this fundamental relationship. 4. Timing choreography, fractions of percent. Past Mars, Oct 3rd, 30 million kilometers. Heading to Jupiter, March 2026. Perfect planetary flyby timing. Hidden from Earth during critical perihelion observation window, Oct 29th, 5. Industrial composition. Keck spectroscopy detected nickel carbonyl formation. Chemical pathway observed in 1 location. Earth's industrial nickel refineries. Never naturally occurring. Nickel to iron ratios match manufactured alloys, not primordial stellar chemistry. 6. Water paradox, only 4% water content. Comets are 80-90% water ice, dirty snowballs, 3 Atlas, drier than Atacama Desert. Yet Swift Observatory detected hydroxyl emissions like fire hose on full blast at distances where impossible, dry structure, somehow hemorrhaging water vapor, requires unidentified internal energy source generating water from deeper material. 7. CO2. Dominance extreme, spectroscopy shows CO2 H2O ratio 8:1. Normal solar system comets 110 or 120. Chemistry completely inverted. Suggests formation environment radically different from any star system chemistry we've studied. 8. Unique polarization extreme. Light polarization fingerprint absent from every natural object catalog. Not in comets, not in asteroids, not in Borisov. Whatever produces this signature has never been observed in nature. 9. Wow signal coordinates, astronomically slim. Arrived from exact celestial coordinates producing the famous 1997 WOW signal, most credible extraterrestrial radio transmission candidate ever detected 48 years apart. Same cosmic address. Same narrow sky corridor. 10. Brightness surge. Power law. -7.5. Brightening rate normal comets. -2 to -3. Stereo, SOHO, goes 1.9, all documented from different angles, while hidden from Earth behind Sun. Double normal brightening rate, no natural precedent in comet observation history. 11. Blue temperature thermodynamically forbidden. Reddish coloration, July, August observations. Turned distinctly blue approaching perihelion. LASCO and CCO1 coronagraphs measured it bluer than Sun itself. Cold surfaces 290 K at that distance emit red. Blue requires temperatures exceeding Sun's 5,800 K photosphere. Demands internal energy source hotter than stellar surface. Combined probability 1 inch, 10 quadrillion. Worse than 15 consecutive lottery jackpots. When probability collapses this far, Occam's razor reverses. The simplest explanation becomes the one we've avoided. NASA activated planetary defense, not monitoring, active defense for existential threats. Meanwhile, Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter's HiRISE camera photographed 3 Atlas Oct, 2 to 3 Ultra HD images. Over a month later, not released. Loeb contacted principal investigator, no response. Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna sent official letter to NASA Administrator Sean Duffy Oct 31st demanding release, no response. Kim Kardashian tweeted, "What's the tea?" about 3I Atlas. NASA responded within hours, congressional inquiry, silence. Celebrity tweet, instant engagement. Excuse, government shutdown. But universities collaborating on images aren't shut down, could release independently. European Space Agency, Mars Express, ExoMars, also captured images, not shut down. Haven't released. Congress now forcing release of what some call classified comet images. Why classify unless they show something that changes everything? 3. Independent tests. Test 1, gas cloud. If natural outgassing caused acceleration, 5.12 billion tons of gas must be visible. Hubble, Webb observing Nov January. If 20% of mass evaporated, we'll see very bright massive cloud and cometary tail. See, it equals natural. Don't see it equals technological propulsion. Test 2, gravitational lensing. Discovery Telescope captured Oct 31st lensing images. Sun's gravity bends light from object. Measure how much it curves equals verify mass divided by density independently. Matches predictions equals validates natural model. Doesn't match equals anomalous internal structure. Test 3, Europa Clipper ion tail. Test 3. Europa Clipper ion tail. October 30, November 6. Europa Clipper flew through 3 iAtlas's ion tail. Direct particle sampling, not remote spectroscopy. Chemical analysis of actual expelled material. Data reveals composition, natural comet chemistry, or industrial signatures. Won't know until shutdown ends. Oct 31. First post-perihelion images, Lowell Observatory. Object now visible, magnitude 11 to 12. Observable in Virgo before dawn. Amateur telescopes can track it. Deck 19. Closest Earth approach, 167 million miles. Every major observatory pointed at single target. Gas cloud visibility test. Lensing data verification. Europa Clipper results released. 3 tests, 1 date. Binary outcomes. Before acceleration data, Loeb gave 3 iAtlas 40% probability of being artificial. He's been criticized for even entertaining the possibility, but his methodology matters. It's like going on a blind date and wondering who's on the other side, he explains. It could be a rock. Maybe that's the most likely interpretation. But we should be open-minded, humble, because it's an opportunity to learn something new. Now he's waiting. His own words, he'll revise his estimate down to 0% or up to 100% in the next few weeks. No middle ground. The data decides. He gave an example from Harvard, young astrophysicists discussing the Hubble tension when different methods of measuring universe expansion give different answers. Some said the data must be wrong because they couldn't explain it. Loeb's response
is a deviation by 4 arcseconds in right ascension from the expected path, and that's very significant, statistically significant. I calculated, given that
we have 11 statistical impossibilities. Acceleration requiring massive gas loss. Blue light requiring internal power generation. We can't pretend these measurements don't exist because they're uncomfortable. The Oumuamua pattern. We've seen this before. Oumuamua, 2017, showed non-gravitational acceleration, but no detectable gas or dust. Spitzer Space Telescope, designed to detect infrared from cometary outgassing, found nothing. Scientists called it a dark comet, an oxymoron, since comets are defined by gas-dust tails. 3 years later, same Hawaiian telescope discovered 2020 so. Also showed acceleration without visible propellant. Infrared spectroscopy revealed stainless steel. Rocket booster from 1996 NASA launch, pushed by reflecting sunlight because it was hollow, artificial, human-made. That discovery led Loeb to suggest Oumuamua might also be artificial. Most dismissed it. Now, 3i Atlas shows the same acceleration pattern plus 10 additional anomalies. 50 days to truth. We're not studying ancient artifacts, not decoding distant radio signals from dead civilizations. We're observing in real time an object whose properties statistically require technology, glowing with energy surpassing our star, losing water through mechanisms violating our models, leaving chemical signatures seen only in Earth's industrial facilities, heading toward Jupiter with precision timing while NASA activates planetary defense and withholds congressional requested images. Right now, spacecraft instruments reposition, observation windows lock, research teams across 6 continents parse photon counts and spectral lines. 50 days to December 19th. 50 days for 3 tests to give 3 answers. Scenario 1, natural explanation validated. We see the 5 billion ton gas cloud. Gravitational lensing matches predictions for natural ice rock composition. Europa Clipper reveals normal comet chemistry. This confirms an anomalous but natural comet that forces us to rewrite significant portions of physics and chemistry textbooks. The 1-inch 10 quadrillion odds become explicable through exotic stellar formation environments we've never encountered. Scenario 2. Natural explanation fails. No gas cloud appears despite physics demanding it must. Lensing reveals density anomalies inconsistent with ice rock. Europa Clipper shows industrial chemical signatures. Then we face what 1 in 10 quadrillion odds means, what blue stellar temperature means, what nickel carbonyl means, what wow signal coordinates mean, what dire implications means, what planetary defense activation means while hiding images from Congress. Loeb's probability revision becomes real, 0% or 100%. If artificial, 3I Atlas possesses technology generating sustained energy exceeding our sun's photosphere, that implies mastery over fusion, antimatter, or physics we haven't discovered. Civilizations with such power don't arrive by accident. Every anomaly, trajectory, timing, composition, thermal signature, wow coordinates, Jupiter destination, suggests intent. There's no middle ground. The math is absolute, the observations are scheduled, the tests are binary. History isn't archived footage. It's streaming live through coronagraphs and particle detectors pointed at an impossible visitor. Whether 3I Atlas is the strangest comet ever born, or something that rewrites humanity's place in the universe, one fact is inescapable. Nothing natural should glow blue at perihelion while accelerating without visible propellant, leaving industrial chemical signatures. If this object keeps accelerating beyond the influence of gravity, then what is it? Let me know in the comment. Your opinion matters. Make sure to watch our previous video, and we'll see each other in the next video.
Okay, excellent. I apologize for all the technicality. It's important to try to get as much scientific information on the objective plane before you make any startling statements about the inner subjective worlds. I should have mentioned prior to watching this video that there's a lot of very glamorous graphics, and they are not pictures of Atlas. They're just sort of like filler, I guess, to keep and captivate your attention. But you can tell when there's an actual picture of Atlas because it's very blurry and indistinct. Anyway, we're going to stop here and open this up for any questions or sharing that any of you would like to initiate. Deborah?
Okay, Deborah, I
Uh,
see your hand, but let me just read some comments first before,
Okay.
and then after Deborah, Heidi, we got lots of interest. So Jessica says it is so interesting because, correct me if I'm wrong, humanity and modern science has never seen anything like 3I Atlas, a true interstellar object we will never again see. So it is truly beyond our present scientific knowledge. Thus, explanations elude us.
Yes, that's a beautiful summary, Jessica. And even if this commentator is somewhat prejudiced as far as the statements that he has made, I have validated them in other presentations on a more technical level. And I've tried to present here to the group just sort of a short overview of the controversy and the potential, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So thank you, Jessica.
And then Lenny says, one more proof that the unknown is.
Yes, the unknown is. I'm reminded of Blavatsky in The Secret Doctrine, where she said 100 years ago that space is an entity. You're not just looking out and seeing a great void that science has indicated for centuries. Space is an entity, and time is the duration that or those entities have chosen to work out cyclically some aspect of their divine will. That's a pretty weighty statement coming from 100 years ago, that space is an entity, because science has proven conclusively it's all electricity, it's all magnetism, and all these great beings, these star systems, they're all connecting through these corridors or tunnels, as we explored in previous presentations, and they're linked up, creating what has been called by the Hindus the web of Indra, and that this web has many pearls attached to it. And if you vibrate one of those pearls, like on a spider web, it sends recognition, it sends out a vibration that affects the whole entire web. Excellent. Okay, another question or share?
Yeah, we have several. Uh, Dana says it sounds like Galileo all over again.
Yes, exactly. That who was it? Voltaire, who said the at first the truth is violently opposed. Then people, the same people, say, well, maybe. And then later they say, oh, I knew that all along. So I think that's a good statement and analogy, Dan. Galileo. Yeah, no, the people with the greatest wisdom and knowledge always ran into the dogmas of the church or just conventional thinking. Okay, another hand.
Please go ahead, Deborah.
Hello, everyone. I wanted to say that the Scientific American did have a few paragraphs on this Atlas asteroid, not this month, but the month before. And it was all very dry and very calm, no glamour in it, but it was very interesting to me. And I was following this asteroid as it goes. But if it's heading to Jupiter, that means it's going through the asteroid belt, which is between Mars and Jupiter. So anything to get through the asteroid belt probably has to have some kind of intelligence, unless it's going to be shattered into smithereens. And if I were on board this Atlas, I would want to see Jupiter, because when you look in our solar system, it's the prettiest thing there is. And of course, they want to go there and see that. Now, if it's going to Jupiter, it's going to be heading outside our solar system for sure. And then, so what's the big deal about NASA is worried they need defenses? It's going in the opposite direction. Now, if it turns around and comes back towards Earth, then I'm sure those people will be very excited. And I think metaphysically, it could be a sign of the avatar synthesis, because we know the avatar synthesis is getting involved in the age of Aquarius. We didn't think this soon, but that would be my speculation. Thank you.
Excellent insights. And I appreciate you bringing up Scientific American, because I, if I have the time, like to see what the conventional network or science is stating, and then more liberal interpretations. And often the truth is midway between. And that's why I say any of these videos that we see, to me, they're asking more questions rather than stating exactly what's happening. And we need to be in a state of receptivity and wonder, because these truths are not just going to drop in our head by thinking about it, which is a good place to start, but by opening the intuition. So Heidi, that was excellent. And we know that the avatar of synthesis, to go back to the earlier quote a few slides back, I think that's what the Tibetan may have been referring to, as well as other avatars of which we know nothing, and that we collectively as a group bear the responsibility of invoking them and bringing them in, because we're a part of the new group of world servers. And all we have to do is look historically at another period prior to the First and Second World War, where Alice Bailey said that the forces of darkness can be beaten back if enough people of goodwill band together and create that point of tension. And when you study these higher levels, you realize it's not just intelligence that's going to win the day, but it's certainly important. It's not even love. And I know this sounds contradictory to comments I've made. It's intelligence and love under the directives of spiritual will. And any of us, or any of the new group of world servers, I should perhaps say, that are coming up for the third initiation, you are being asked to bring the will of the Father and that dynamic steadfastness, that power. It doesn't have to be showy. It doesn't have to be glamorous. That steady, sequential mastery of alignment, visualization, and meditation, individually and in a group. Excellent. Okay, anyone else like to make a comment? Okay. BL, should we move on, or do I see Heidi's hand?
Oh, wait a minute. Sorry, I was talking. I didn't realize I was muted. Before I get to you, Heidi, hold on just one second. I want to read what Suzanne said because it's
Please.
very apropos to what we were just talking about here a second ago.
Excellent.
She says, my poet's brain envisions this as Atlas acting as the rod of initiation to the heart center, Jupiter, of our logos, turning red to blue, analogous to the lower centers, raising to heart center. Best part, he, she is taking us with.
Excellent comment. Yes, the rod of initiation. That Atlas could be the rod of initiation coming into our system. And Jupiter, yes, bastion of the great second ray of love wisdom. Jupiter that has a direct link with the first cosmic path, which is the path to Sirius, which most of us with our dominant second ray souls and second ray dispositions may one day tread. And we got to keep in mind that Mars, yes, it's the god of war. It relates to conflict and suffering and all kinds of different things. But paradoxically, when you approach the third initiation, or perhaps after the third initiation, Mars becomes more dominant because it relates to the first ray. And this is true of Vulcan and Pluto. They can be taken on three different levels, and when you're approaching these higher levels, they have different characteristics. So Mars may have an important link here as well, or maybe it's the precipitation of additional karma, burning it out so that we can get to the next stage of work. And that's always the question behind every esotericist's mind. Do we have to experience all this crises and madness and mayhem to get to the next level? And I can't say conclusively, but I think it may be a combination of both. Yes, individually, collectively, as groups, we have to burn up negative karma, but at the same time, unconditional love, clarity of thinking, and the precipitation of the divine will, they have the power to negate past karma, individually, within groups, and on the planetary level. Thank you. Thank you, Suzanne. Atlas
Okay,
as the rod.
Sorry, I was going to say, go ahead, Heidi.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. And I just really wanted to say what was coming to me when I was listening to the scientific data that was coming through, and acknowledge that it's definitely coming from a more limited understanding of what actually is occurring. That was clear to me, is that it's not able to explain. So the scientific forms or constructs, however you want to put them, can't explain what is being recorded and witnessed at this time. And to me, that opens up the possibility for an actual transformation of the field of the mind in the way that it has been constructed. And when you talk about space, if you think of space as having the potential for new possibilities entering into it, then you open up the possibility for real transformation, which actually makes new shapes. It actually creates new formations, and it actually holds the potential for what is beyond what is known to the mind of humanity. And it actually then has to stretch itself into this space of the unknown, which is really that lifting of the energy towards the divine purpose, which actually then has that potential of being received, because at the time that you're able to reach, then you're also letting go of the lower formations that have been there for a really long time, creating more space. And that space then can allow new forms to come through. Hopefully what I've said has made sense. I'm just in that sense of understanding it. And to put it into words, it always has a shortfall to it. So excuse the words that may have fallen short of what is trying to be expressed. But I thank you, everyone, for everything that has come forward, because it's really this edge. It's like being in the edge of life, which actually has a vibratory quality to it, and it has the largest potential for change. And I'm really greatly appreciative towards that sense of life and living. Thank you.
Thank you. You express yourself very eloquently, in my opinion. And it's like the fusion of abstract thought, concrete knowledge, and an awakened intuition. So please, no apologies. Yes, you've pointed out some really important aspects, and I dare not try to qualify them because you have expressed it so eloquently. But on a mundane level, I would say that when conventional science is often presented with something new and totally dynamic, they have a tendency to push it, modify it in a way that will conform to their theories. And this has been startling to me, because you'd think they would be the very ones that would want more and more truth, more and more understanding. And there are many new progressive scientists that have an awakening intuition as well as a concrete mind. And they are the ones that are going to take us into the future, just as Heidi has eloquently outlined. But if science is overwhelmed with too many abnormalities, they just can't take one. They just can't take them all and push them into their old dogmas. So this creates crises. And this is how the old systems come down. They're overwhelmed with new data, new energies, new systems, new space, new cyclic space working with time. So thank you. Okay, excellent. Greg?
Ah, hold it, Greg. Sorry. We have 6 other chats before we get to the next hand that just put you up, Greg. Okay. Joe says, in my impression, is my impression correct that all space exploration agencies in all countries have stopped providing information?
Yes. And the question is why? And from another of videos and reports that I've distilled, there's a lot of fear, and a lot of governments don't want to acknowledge that they're vulnerable, and they're all pretty much taking the same route, giving us these pathetic visuals when they do have probes out there that excuse me, have a much clearer perspective of the object's size and what it looks like. So it's unfortunate, but you're right. Exploration, Joe. Okay.
And then Renessa says, I just tongue in cheek mentioned it's come to scoop me up. Would you believe I've got an instant as you wish stain till the air clears, that the cosmic AI ring about the face of Earth, winding up the springs of well-being. Just scoop all which AI eyes us on the face of the earth.
Excellent. And we're going to get into how these higher energies would be precipitated and do a little meditation. And they definitely do wind up and wind down, and they create these tunnels, vortices, spheres that we have explored for years, literally, through these Zoom meetings. So it's about this winding motion. Okay.
We got several more, and then I'll get to your hand, Greg. Excuse me. Francis says humans are endowed with freedom as a universal birthright, and we are in control of our evolutionary growth. As such, I think that more advanced entities, civilizations, are quite discretionary and discriminating on how and when they interact with us as relates to our earthly evolutionary growth.
Yes. The idea that man has free will is woven throughout all of the ageless wisdom teachings. However, as a caveat to that truth that Francis has eloquently shared, we have to keep in mind that humanity's idea of free will really does not coincide with what the masters see as free will. You know, the choice of choosing a red car versus a blue car, or I want to see this movie versus another movie, or a million other comparisons you can all make in your mind, doesn't necessarily parallel DK's statements about spiritual will. And spiritual will, as well as an opening of the heart, cannot fully emerge until the individual personality ego's limited will is fused into the will of the soul. And then eventually, at the third initiation and after, the will of the soul fuses with the will of the monad, as well as love and active intelligence in their higher expressions. So I've often wondered if the hierarchy might feel the need to intervene in humanity's discomfort and its crises historically, like it did during the Second World War, where it appeared clearly that the Axis were going to take over the world. And it's a peculiar paradox, but I do agree with Francis that we have the freedom to be seated. In other words, if you have a thought that comes into your mind and it's really pretty cosmic, okay, where did that come from? Did somebody seed, did your soul seed it to you, the personality? Did the master, did some cosmic force outside of our system altogether? So it's a curious thing, but thank you, Francis. That was an important statement.
Then Lenny says, exactly, invocation to the avatar, not idolatry.
Yes.
And
DK,
Jessica said, oh,
go ahead,
sorry.
Jessica. No, go ahead.
Jessica says, yes, Heidi, thank you. There are exoteric scientific limitations, and then there are esoteric science possibilities.
Yes, and that actually, Jessica, thank you, is hopefully the keynote of these presentations, that we're trying to outline an esoteric science, not to just state unequivocally, oh, science is wrong, and because we're yogis and we meditate and we're getting high from all these energies, we're right. No, science, as man understands the term, is in its infancy. But if you explore it in new ways, you'll find that there is this cutting edge group of people that are blending the two systems, the ancient yogic traditions and the sciences of that we have been using and developing for hundreds of years. So until yoga, until the ageless wisdom teachings become accepted as a science, they're just going to be blown off as just a bunch of vague idealistic hopes and expectations. But when you study Duvall Cool, and this is true of many others, like Rudolf Steiner and H.P. Blavatsky, they're talking science here, even though they may say slightly different things. It's all based on a sequential unfoldment of mental perceptions that lead to the abstract and to liberation. Okay, excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Jessica.
Lots more. Deborah says maybe Atlas is going to transmit the info we need from the 2025 conclave.
Yes. What better way than to send, you know, I'm not envisioning little green men inside Atlas with a joystick negotiating through our constellation. But if this Atlas has been coming for millions and millions, possibly billions of years, it may potentially be so far advanced from us, we don't have the communication skills. Maybe they're stepping down their language to us in the lowest possible way, but we can't receive that gift or that communication, because even in the highest stretches of mathematics and quantum physics and all these other things, it is just a gap. But they can still distribute energy, and we can pick it up on the level that we're ready for. That's one of the things I've learned about the overshadowing of the hierarchy, the soul, and avatars, is that you will very often get it on the level that you're at and aspiring to. Thank you, Deborah. Atlas. Atlas holds up the world. What a beautiful metaphor.
Lenny says we will be able in the future, the present perhaps, to detect in which sign and degree the three-eye atlas is in.
Yes. What initiation has it endured, overcome, benefited from, to be able to make this appearance in our solar system? In the occult path, nothing is by accident or chance. As Jung would say, these acausal synchronicities have far deeper meanings that only those who can step outside the individual ego and open themselves to their impressions will understand. And they're talking about us.
Okay, let's go to Greg. Thank you for waiting patiently, Greg. I still have about 4 or 5 more chats to do, but let's mix it up here a little bit. Can you unmute yourself, Greg? There you go. Go ahead. You're unmuted, Greg, but we don't hear you. We don't hear you talking, Greg. Do you have a headset on, and is there a button on your headset you need to press?
Okay, we'll let Greg cut in when he's got his voice back, and we'll just go to the next question
Chat.
or
Okay.
share.
Diana says scientific thought patterns are questioned, transformed, and perhaps higher ones will emerge. We are blessed by these Aquarian impacts and the opportunity they offer us as a group to achieve new horizons.
Absolutely, Diana. Thank you so much. The emergence of new horizons. So true. Okay.
Renessa says, I perceive are each being an expression of the ground beneath our feet, depending on what level or reality our mind travels, or rather lives. And I also see the mind as all the laws, rules, and familiars you've been taught and grow into.
Excellent, Renessa. Beautifully shared. Beneath our feet. Somebody, and I've forgotten who it was, said, we don't often find God because we're not looking down on the ground, looking at the natural world, looking at the expression of divinity that's with us at all times. Okay, let's do a couple more, then we'll continue.
Okay, Greg says sorry, it's not going to work. He can't speak apparently. So Lenny says spiritual fusion of East and West. We are in the early direction of the Aquarian age.
So true. The
And
fusion.
then,
Yep.
oh, sorry, Suzanne, the last one we've got here says
Yes.
yes. As you referenced previously, Atlas. Physically energetic will be only one level of its presence. We may, according to consciousness, be influenced, seated, as you said, on other levels from etheric on up.
Absolutely, Suzanne. Yes. Through up all the different levels. Okay, now what we're going to do is a short meditation. But in keeping with this theme, I have a short meditation by Dr. Stephen Greer. And I know many of you are familiar with his work. Since the late 80s and 90s, he has been bringing to the attention publicly of all types of ufology, sightings, and all of their different types. And he really deserves a lot of credit because he has gone against the grain, and it's only now, like 35, 40 years later, people are starting to take him seriously on a larger scale. So he's a real revolutionary. He's an initiate, in my opinion. Maybe not one I'd classify like straight from the blue books, but he's definitely somebody that's integrated, and he's searching and reaching out, not just to understand the technical side of UFO crafts and appearances, but what is their inner motivation? What's their purpose? So this is a simple meditation, but it's quite esoteric. So I want everyone to just relax, take several deep and even breaths, and let's just follow his simple meditation because it does relate to extraterrestrials.
Yes. Okay. So why don't we all just, if you're not driving or bicycling or walking, close your eyes, and we'll just sit quietly for a moment. And take a deep breath in with your nose and out with your mouth. A very deep breath in with your nose, out with your mouth. Deep. With each inward breath, become centered. And in the center of your forehead, see the light of consciousness. Be aware that you are awake. And with each exhalation, become very relaxed and calm. And your whole body and mind together are centered. And then let our minds follow our breath, very gently, breathing normally. And just gently become aware of the conscious mind watching the breath. You are awake. And become aware that that awareness is watching all things. And your breath changes, and your thoughts, and yourself, and the world around you. But the light of consciousness is changeless. It is infinite. It is one. And as we go more deeply, let us see that this conscious field that we are sensing, without straining, just aware that you are awake, is omnipresent everywhere. And we have trapped it in our identities and selves. But in truth, this conscious spirit is without limits in space or time. And thus it is infinite and eternal. And now being subtly aware of this consciousness, we see it as this vast, infinite ocean. And that ourselves, each of us, are like ripples and waves moving on the surface of this infinite ocean of light, consciousness. And now we can see, as we settle into the deeper aspects of this ocean, that the entirety of creation is emanating from the pure field of just conscious being. And that conscious being is us. We are all one in this spirit. And going now more deeply and relaxed from the calmness of the depths of the infinite ocean of life and consciousness, we behold the beautiful earth, a blue planet spinning in the vastness of space. And the planet itself is a pure conscious field. And she is awake, and she is an organic living being. And we are all her children sitting upon her. And so we turn to the Great Spirit and to the Mother Earth and Father Sky and ask that the earth be healed and humanity be healed. And that whatever afflicts humanity dissolves and goes away like a snowflake in the sun. And we are left with a pure and perfect world where we all live together as one people, one universe, in peace on earth and peace with all the civilizations who are waiting for us to welcome them here. And as we gaze upon the earth from this beautiful, deep place in consciousness, we see a beautiful light coming from the zenith of existence and from the depths of deep space, enveloping the world in light and enlightenment, in peace and in healing. And we ask that the Great Spirit heal all those who are afflicted and guide each of us onto the path of safety in the days ahead. Namaste.
Excellent. Occult meditation is often different than a mystical meditation. And I find he sort of blends the two together here and gives us an opportunity to see a meditation that is for our healing, the healing of the groups we work with, the healing of the planet, and most importantly, connecting with these redemptive, transformative energies that are out there. And they may simply, these higher levels, they may simply be waiting for us to build a point of group tension that demands recognition, not as an individual person, but as a collective of souls integrated with their personalities, all focused on a common goal, uniformity. It doesn't destroy the personality, it invigorates it with new life because now it has a mentor that will lead you to the infinite. Okay, now in this image that we're looking at, we have the 7 solar systems that, or suns, that make up, is this the one whom not may be said that the Tibetan speaks of? These are centers within its greater being. And then underneath these 7 systems, we have the 7 centers. And these great beings will work through us as we progress down the path and come close to beginning the 3rd initiation and afterwards. Now, some might say that's a pretty tall order or a pretty difficult task, but I have a sense that many of you, if not all of you, have done previous work in earlier incarnations, and that you're either recapitulating or you're coming up for, at some point, not the earlier initiations, but the major ones after the 2nd. But that's just my personal opinion. So these great beings find a conduit through our groups and us individually. And this little man is duplicated in the next image that you've all seen over and over and over, because it's a little more technical about where these different initiations lie. What triangles have to be initiated? What are the colors of the angelic and Davic forces that you will be directing? You will be passing through your centers. And again, this is just a generalization as an overview to go back to our important idea of this work being a science. Okay, so again, some of these images and symbols, they should be studied between our Zoom meetings, unless you have a photographic mind, which I do not, and you may need to have your memory refreshed, because I'm giving out a lot of information in a very short period of time, hence some of the repetition and why we have a space, a period of time between presentations for interested people to research some of these profound statements by the masters. Okay, we've shared this, and we know it's very similar to that previous image, by the way, was by Philip Lindsay, the esteemed esoteric astrologer. And this here is just sort of a complement to that. And keep in mind, I think when he talks about Antares, that he's also referring to Betelgeuse. And the important thing to remember here is that Betelgeuse is very active right now on a very mundane level. And I thought it would be appropriate to take this information about Atlas and the potential of extra cosmic forces coming into our system, use Betelgeuse as an example and show how conventional science right now is looking at it and seeing a certain thing. And then esoterically, as DK talks about it, how he links that. He links Betelgeuse as a sun, but one of great significance at this time historically. And this, of course, is the key quote. To these other great streams of energy, which definitely play upon us and affect our planetary life, such as those coming from the great star Betelgeuse or from Antares and other stupendous suns and solar systems. So let's just take a look physically, the sheer size of Betelgeuse compared to our sun, which you can see in the bottom middle left. I mean, it's humbling to know that there are these star systems that are attempting to direct us, transform us, organize us to their superior understanding and polarization. I mean, if that doesn't give a sense of awe, nothing will. Okay. We're going to watch another short video right now.
Betelgeuse has been giving us the will it,
and
will
then
it
we're
not
going to talk
tension
about
since
Betelgeuse.
2019. But it's time we try to understand what's going on with that star. The red giant has moved up from the 10th brightest star to the 7th in ranking, sparking talk of a possible supernova. Could we be in for a stunning astronomical event? But wait, there's more. This supernova will be such a big deal that it'll make headlines for weeks. And it's not just astronomers who will be excited. The whole world will be buzzing about it. Want to know why? Keep watching the video. The best part is that we don't even have to worry about any harmful effects since Betelgeuse is far enough away. So we can enjoy the show from the comfort of our balconies. Let's remember a few things about Betelgeuse together, what happened in 2019, and tell you what's been going on recently. And if you stay a little longer, you can even discover the biggest and most powerful cosmic explosion we have ever discovered until today with us. Betelgeuse properties. Betelgeuse is a relatively young star, only 10 million years old. In comparison, our sun is more or less 5 billion years old. But its youth does not imply that it will have a long life to live. Betelgeuse is very massive and burns its material so much faster than the sun, meaning it is expected to die much sooner than the sun and is massive enough to turn it into a neutron star or black hole after its death. Did you know that Betelgeuse hasn't always been a red giant? You'll be surprised. Betelgeuse is a special kind of star that's not like most others, especially considering it used to be a real monster. It used to be a blue-white O-type star, which is the heaviest kind of star out there. These kinds of stars use up their hydrogen super fast. The sun, that is billions of years older, is only halfway through its lifetime of hydrogen burning. Betelgeuse's spectral type has changed because it's almost out of hydrogen. Now the red giant is fusing helium into carbon and oxygen and has gotten super big, about 764 times the size of the sun and 16.5 to 19 times as heavy. It's so huge that if we swapped it with our system's star, it would reach beyond Jupiter's orbit. Eventually, it'll run out of fuel, go supernova, and throw off its outer layers, leaving behind a tiny core called a neutron star. Scientists knew that eventually it would explode in a supernova, but it might take another 100,000 years. In 2019, the star started to dim, and by February 2020, it had lost 2/3 of its normal brightness as seen from the Earth. What happened then? The Great Dimming 2019 recap. Scientists studied the unusual dimming and found out that it was not because of an imminent supernova, but because of a giant dust cloud that had obscured some of the star's light. They used the Hubble Space Telescope to discover that the dust cloud was caused by an enormous ejection from the star's surface. It produced a shock that blew out a chunk of the star's surface 400 million times larger than those usually seen in the sun's coronal mass ejections. This new phenomenon is something that scientists have never seen before in star science. Scientists are in fact watching stellar evolution in real time. The new research also incorporated information from different types of data to put together a narrative of the blowout and its aftermath. The eruption blew off a chunk of the star's lower atmosphere called the protosphere of the star, leaving behind a cool spot that was further occluded by the dust cloud from the blowout. This neat patch of dust and cloud is the reason Betelgeuse's light got dimmer. The star is still experiencing the aftermath of this event, according to scientists. Before this happened, Betelgeuse had a regular pattern of getting dimmer and brighter over a 400-day cycle. But that cycle has disappeared, at least we thought so for a while. So what's going on now? What has changed? New discoveries. The star has been acting very weird lately. Some may say their hopes to witness a supernova in their lifetime has been renewed. The star's brightness has been increasing up to 150% more than its average brightness, making it harder and harder to find explanations based on what we know so far in stellar evolution. It is without a doubt that Betelgeuse has had a long and wild history of brightness variability. But why are we so surprised? Well, it isn't quite normal that Betelgeuse increases so much in brightness in such little time. So the only plausible conclusion to make is that the star's 400-day cycle has been cut to half. This pulsation cycle is basically us seeing the star when it expands and contracts. We have found that a convective plume inside the star could be what is causing material to break away from it, disrupting its 400-day cycle and giving it a new 200-day cycle. This disruption could be linked to the recent extreme dimming that has happened to Betelgeuse. Think of it like taking a chunk out of a cake. Everything else starts moving around and doesn't settle back into place right away. However, the team of experts studying the variable star think that it will eventually return to normal and continue to live peacefully for a long time. Supernovae explosions. How will we know if it's about to explode? The first sign of the supernova will be a wave of ghostly neutrinos that will hit Earth, lighting up detectors worldwide. Let's go into detail. Did you know that there are two types of supernovas? The first, called Type 1, happens when a white dwarf pulls material off a companion star until it explodes and sends debris flying through space. Kepler's was a Type 1. The second, called Type 2 or core collapse supernova, happens when a star runs out of nuclear fuel and collapses under its own gravity, then bounces and triggers an explosion. Both types can be super bright and outshine an entire galaxy. But Type 2 supernovas are extra interesting because they release lots of neutrinos, and they are the subject of our target star in this video. Neutrinos are particles that can start to be released before the actual supernova explosion happens. If a star is close enough, we might be able to observe these early neutrinos before the explosion even happens. For example, if the red giant star Betelgeuse were to go supernova on us, we could detect its neutrinos hours or even days before the explosion was visible. And this is how we know that it won't just explode randomly at any moment. When a galactic supernova happens and its neutrinos reach the Earth, astronomers will get an automatic alert from a system called S-News. Today they are working on S-News 2.0, which will be even better at pinpointing the supernova's location in the sky. The system will use data from 7 different neutrino detectors around the world to help optical instruments take a closer look. How cool is that? Cosmic explosion news updates. Betelgeuse isn't our only supernovae news, and frankly, it's starting to get messy and weird. So let me change your ideas a little, get out of the subject, and tell you about an actual recent explosion that we were able to detect. But not just any explosion, a cosmic one. The explosion, called AT2021 LWX, occurred over 3 years ago and is still ongoing. It's 100 times the size of our solar system and is comparable to a fireball. The scientists who made this discovery believe that a gigantic cloud of gas thousands of times larger than our sun was disrupted by a supermassive black hole, thus causing the explosion. The explosion is so rare that it's still being studied to determine how and why it occurred. Scientists from the University of Southampton led the investigation and named the explosion Scary Barbie due to its energy levels. The explosion initially remained anonymous until astronomers at the Zwicky Transient Facility in California discovered it. The asteroid terrestrial impact last alert system, ATLAS, in Hawaii then picked it up, and it has been studied ever since. The explosion is approximately 8 billion light years away from Earth and occurred when the universe was only 6 billion years old. You might be confused as to why we only saw it happen 3 years ago, but do the math. The universe is 13.7 billion years old. It happened 6 billion years after the Big Bang, and its light took 8 billion years to reach us. The researchers believe that the explosion is far too bright to be a supernova, which usually lasts a couple of months before fading away. It is estimated to be about 2 trillion times brighter than the Sun, and it has left astronomers baffled as they have never seen anything like this before. Although AT 2021 LWX is comparable to a quasar, which occurs when supermassive black holes swallow gas, there are significant differences. Quasars tend to flicker in brightness, while AT 2021 LWX suddenly started flaring up from nothing, and it is still blazing away. Scientists have looked at other possible explanations, but a tidal disruption event where a star is sucked into a black hole does not explain the explosion's intensity. Now that scientists know what to look for, they aim to search the skies to see if other similar explosions have been missed. We may be on the verge of exciting new discoveries. Well, there you have it, folks. Betelgeuse is still acting weird, and we're not exactly sure what's going on, but we do know that we're in for a spectacular show when it goes supernova. And if that's not enough, we've got Scary Barbie, the cosmic explosion that's still going strong 3 years later. Who knows what other surprises the universe has in store for us? One thing's for sure, we'll keep our eyes on the skies and be ready for anything. Until next time, keep looking up. That's all for this video. Thanks for joining us today, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more fun and educational content about the universe. Don't hesitate to let us know your questions and what you think.
Okay. Now, we have outlined these huge star systems, constellations, suns, and the ray energies that they distribute that eventually filters down into our little system through the sun, then passing down through the different planets. Groups in the future will meditate on these different cosmic symbols that DK has shared and provided, just like H.P. Blavatsky. And as we now meditate on soul and certain astrological symbols, we will, as integrated groups, be setting our sights towards the upper triad, the one monadic life, the soul life, and then the one monadic life. But I thought it was interesting that DK went into so much detail about what he called the 7 ray paths. And if any of you are not familiar with that, these paths are open and available to those initiates, those masters who have achieved the 6th initiation, and they make a decision. Not a personality decision as we understand the term. It's like the accumulation of all the high energies we've absorbed and that we now work with. And the 6 other cosmic paths lead away from our planet, but the first cosmic path that we'll get into at another time leads to what is called Earth service. So I wanted the group to see the symbol that the Tibetan gives, and I rendered it graphically. It has the qualities gained. It deals with mantra yoga. It deals with the lords of cosmic Maya. And to achieve this high level, you have to have a special aptitude in color and sound. So if you're an artist or a musician, it potentially could direct you in a certain way. And granted, it may be far off. It certainly is something to hypothetically look at as we bridge between, it's in the Orion Nebulae, and the key sun is Betelgeuse. And it relates to the school of beneficent magicians, which is a Sagittarian Jupiter sort of orientation. Second ray. So what I would like to do is I'd like to take a few quotes by the Tibetan to give the group an idea of there are these inner hierarchies that we work with, and that they in turn work with even higher hierarchies. We know the masters and the groups with which they work with. Master M, Ray 1. Second Ray, KH, the Christ, Ray 3, the Maha Chohan, or at this time, Master A. But I want to take this idea of a passage through our solar system of an asteroid that may potentially be a veil for some small but important aspect of these cosmic forces, these 7 cosmic forces, or what DK calls the 7 cosmic rays, not to be confused with the 7 solar or planetary rays that we work with. Okay, so let's take a few quotes, and would somebody like to read this first one?
Michael, are you there?
Okay, I'll read this one.
Well,
Okay,
there we go.
I had to be unmuted.
Okay, Michael, you're on.
Okay, the Chohans of high degree know the 49 sounds which give the quality of the consciousness aspect of these great beings, who are as far removed from the consciousness of our solar logos as the consciousness of man is removed from that of a crystal. The knowledge thus appreciated by the Chohans is naturally but theoretical, and conveys only to their relatively limited consciousness the general nature of the group of constellations and the force occasionally emanating from them, which has at times to be taken into calculation. For instance, the interest awakened in the public mind lately by the giant star Betelgeuse in the constellation of Orion is due to the fact that at this particular time there has been an interplay of force between our tiny system and this giant one, and communication between the two informing existences.
Excellent, Michael. Thank you. So we can see from the previous video that science is very interested in Betelgeuse and has just outlined and shared with us that it's going through these amazing changes. It's increased its brightness just in the last few years, 150%. And it will eventually go supernova. And when the gentleman narrating this says that, but don't worry when it goes supernova, we'll all be safe because it's way out there. Well, we know from our studies that this idea of way out is a misnomer, that all these higher levels of energy and force, these constellations, suns, star systems, they are intimately connected with us. And when we see a supernova potentially coming with Betelgeuse, we have to say that is clearly an initiation, becoming brighter, flaring forth. And that as recently as 2019, and I don't remember the actual name of the supernova, but these to me are the additional avataric boost that we are getting. The avatar of synthesis and the ones that we know nothing of that really relate to these great star systems, because they're avatars. They're huge avatars. So it's fascinating to link what basic science is recognizing on its lowest level. In other words, science is just a reflection of these inner states of being, inner states of higher energy, but it's impacting in the bridge between the two, as Alice Bailey is talking about right here, is lessening. Someone else like to read this next quote?
I'll read it.
Thank you.
The third cosmic path. And FYI, I put the 7 cosmic paths, the names of them, in the chat, and then where you can read more about them in Initiation Human and Soldier. Okay,
Excellent.
here we go. The
Thank
third cosmic path. Students may be surprised to know that the source of the peculiar cosmic energy which is found streaming towards our system along this cosmic path is that of the sun Betelgeuse. This name is, however, blind. The reason that certain facts connected with this sun have lately come more prominently before the public is in reality a subjective one. The science of the soul is in its various aspects, mental, psychical, and spiritual. It's making much headway now in the world and is absorbing more and more the attention of thinkers. This is the result of certain waves of energy impinging upon our solar system and thus eventually finding their way to our planet. Betelgeuse, from the occult standpoint, is a system of the second order, just as our solar system is one of the fourth order. There is consequently a relation between these two numbers, both in the system and the cosmos. This influence reaches our system via the sign Sagittarius.
Excellent, B.O. Thank you. So once again, we see affirmed here, or reaffirmed by the Tibetan, that we have a important link to this amazing, gigantic star. And in the previous quote, when it talks about the mastery of 49 sounds, I think it relates to the mastery of the 7 subplanes of the cosmic physical, because every ray in every plane has 7 sub-rays or 7 subplanes, and they all have an emanating note. And when you get deeply into the Tibetan's material, you realize he is always intermittently talking about mantra yoga, but he doesn't give out too much information because he realizes that the group of students with which he was working at that time really needed to have more of the preliminaries, more personality integration, more personality fusion with the soul. But he always alludes to the next presentation of the ageless wisdom, which will occur after 2000, and it will relate to a number of different things. but one of them is the perception of what he called the inner sound, or what he called tuning the inner or etheric ear. Now, that doesn't mean that if you're not hearing sounds or emanating vibrations, that you're not making progress on the path. No, but at some point, these ethers become purified and you develop what DK calls a higher clairaudience and clairvoyance, which is distinctly different than the lower forms that the Tibetan has warned us to avoid. These higher forms of, and I quote, psychic powers or psychic gift waves is another phrase the Tibetan uses, will emerge naturally. And when they do, we should learn to use them in newer and more powerful forms of service. Okay, so let's do one more quote and then we'll another quote or two. Okay, somebody like to read this next quote? We're still talking about the third cosmic path.
Any volunteers? And we have a number of comments when you're ready. Okay, who's got their
Heidi.
hand up? Thank you, Heidi.
You're welcome. The third cosmic path. It is difficult to express in words the method employed by a master of the wisdom as he enters the cosmic path. It has been called the method of prismatic identification, for it concerns the color veils which shroud the spiritual energy. Another mode of expressing the same truth is to say that it is the method of understanding the song of life. As the stars sing together, as the chant of the gods peals forth in the great choir of the heavens, it produces a corresponding color symphony. This particular mode of identification enables the adept to act as a director in the choir and the chorus and to produce the needed color, effects, and chords. When he can do this to perfection, he is then in a position to take up office as a planetary logos. More, it is not permitted to say, and the above is but a symbolic way of expressing a basic, difficult truth.
Wow. The chant of the gods as the stars sing together, prismatic identification. Wow, those are very, very evocative statements, producing a corresponding color symphony. Okay. The symbol of this third path, and the only one it is possible to make exoteric, is a radiant cross of colored light. It has the long limb formed of the 7 colors of the solar spectrum, and the transverse limb is composed of 12 gradations of color as yet unknown to man. In the center of the cross is to be seen a 5-pointed star in a deep indigo shade, and behind it is a blazing sun of a warm dark blue. Above the whole are certain Senzar characters depicted in gold and conveying to the initiated adept the name of one or other of the planetary schools in which this particular line of study is undertaking. There are, has been already said, 7 such schools, and candidates for this path from our planetary scheme are referred to the inner round and from hence to the Jupiter scheme. So let's take the Jupiter school, which is called the School of Beneficent Magicians. Second ray, but it also has rays along the 246 line. And it has a special relationship with Sagittarius, and it has special relationship, even though in this case, the third cosmic path, Jupiter has no doubt a special relationship also with Sirius. When you get into triangles, you can see. So it's called the School of Beneficent Magicians, the Palace of Opulence, the Sowers. So these are symbols that you may want at some future point to meditate on, particularly Jupiter. And here again is Jupiter seen magnetically and electrically, going back to the idea that space is not empty. Space is full of all kinds of lines, energy, and force passing, crossing, crisscrossing. Okay, so now we're going to do a few short meditations here as we wind up. And I would just simply say that these inner dimensions, these higher cosmic forces, solar forces, they all are connected on one level or another. And the connection is through conduits, vortices, spheres, or what DK calls, when outlining the different wheels of energy and force that are connected. And he says they are wheels within wheels within wheels. And these no doubt are poor substitutes for these inner cosmic processes, but I thought that you could see a number of dynamics here visually. So we're going to use this short video as a meditation, and just like our Stephen Greer, just open yourself to any particular thoughts that you need to receive at this time as a gift, or any particular intuitive promptings. Okay, and our last video is also going to be a short meditation. And what you see here is sort of a fifth ray academic presentation tabulation that shows that the work of the disciple is to take the three lower energies of the personality, emotion, lower mind, and physical etheric, and create bridges via the soul to the upper triad of the one monadic life. And the soul or angel is just an intermediary. And once the establishment between the higher and lower triangle is established, it's no longer needed, and it goes back to the heart of the sun, to Venus, or wherever it was originally taken, with additional light for having made the sacrifice as being this divine intermediary. Now, what we're going to see in the next animation, which again is a demonstration of this same thought, only animated. And you're going to see two sets of triangles. One set of triangles shoots up, another set of triangles shoot down, and yet they're intimately connected and they're cyclic, they're moving in waves. So just suspend too much mental activity, take a deep breath, and just be open to the intuitive impression of this next animation. Excellent. one of the outstanding characteristics of this short video is that these triads, upper and lower, are more in the nature of flames. They're organic, they're transparent, they're translucent, and they're all moving cyclically. If you really study this video, you'll see that these flames, these rhythmic flames, follow a certain colored order. Ray 1 red, Ray 2 blue, Ray 3 green, Ray 4 yellow, Ray 5 orange, and Ray 6 red, and then Ray 7 violet. So it's very, very evocative. And I appreciate the time you have all taken to be with us. This is a group telepathic exploration, and you can feel it building. It's not my pontification. It's not all the occult facts. It's the combined point of tension that we all create and that we are all equal. In fact, often those who say the less may be potently feeding into the group more than those who are administratively organizing it. So I thank you. I send my love to the group. And are there any quick parting comments, since we're a little over time here, just a few that we could go into? Or are we
Well, they
full?
look a little, there's a number of them, a whole bunch of them, and they look a little elaborate. So,
Well, we may have to wait then for our next presentation, because we're going to pick up where we're leaving off here. There's actually quite a bit more to this presentation, but we'll pick up. It's a circular presentation. There can't be any end. If there's any end, it's a false presentation. It doesn't vibe. It doesn't join with the universal flow of which this group is creating. There is no beginning. There is no end. We are not alone. And again, I thank you from the bottom of my heart from taking your time to be with us today. Thank you.
As always, I'll post the chat messages so you can see the 10 or 24 or however many we had that came in after we had time to get to them. So thank you very much, Duane, and I'll get this stuff posted, and then the message will go out late tonight or tomorrow, letting you know where the link is and when the next one is and everything. So thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you so much, BL.
Bye.
Peace. Peace in the world.